Give it a crack. Alright. Yeah, there we go. That's alright. Wallawani Ninjuan, I'm Paddy.
I'm Bruin.
And I'm Bridget, and we are coming to you on Yuin Country here in Jervis Bay on the south coast of New South Wales.
We're here today bringing you, our fellow Aussies, along with our family around the world, the latest updates from the Australian Hobie class.
We already have a bunch of regattas coming up for the second half of the championship tour, with bad news and the Victorian and Western Australian Open Catamaran Championships taking place.
As well as the New South Wales State Championships, which has just been announced, running in conjunction with Kurnell Cat Club's Top Gun Regatta in November.
However, for this update, we're going to give you a rundown on where we've been so far.
First up on the tour, we had the New South Wales Hobie 14, 16 Women and Youth and Hobie 18 State Championships.
Taking you back to Wanji at Lake Macquarie.
Kicking things off as the first major event since the 50th Australian Championships, which was held right here in Jervis Bay. We saw 36 boats entered in total, consisting of 3 Hobie 18s, 7 Hobie 16s and a total of 26 Hobie 14s on the water.
Conditions were varied, with a westerly ranging from 8 to 22 knots.
Hold up there. I reckon it was a bit more than 22 knots when a gust comes and tips the Hobie 14 straight in.
Yeah, anyway, I don't see actually anyone else tipped over at that time. So Bridgie, where were you?
8 to 22 knots at times on Saturday, with 5 races completed. Sunday saw a light to mid-range east southeast that built gradually to 12 to 14 knots in the afternoon.
Hobie 16 Women's Australian champions Emma Rankin and Hayley Fisher took out the title. Claire Eastman and Helen Mills came second, as well as Masters champions, whilst Queensland Carmen Andrews and our very own Bridget Raftery came third, while also finishing first in the Youth Division.
In the Hobie 18s, Jake DeRoy and Alana Simpson backed up their national title with a bullet on the lake, closely followed by Central Coast locals Brad Robinson and Josh Hanley.
As the hottest Hobie 14 fleet we've seen outside of an Australian Championships, it was nothing but pure live action out on the racetrack. Racing with both windward and leeward gates, Olympic silver medalist and Australian sailing supercoach Darren Bundock made a return to the class that forged him into the sailor he is today. Bundy finished 4th overall whilst taking out the Masters division.
Hot on his heels, the infamous Worst News, who all of the international family will know from many Hobie 16 worlds, finished 8th overall. Gavin Luxton, back in Australia after 20 years living and sailing in the UK, finished 9th, whilst the Mackenzie father and son duo Will and Andrew finished 7th and 6th respectively.
2007 Hobie 16 world champion Mick Butler finished 5th overall, while coming second in the Grand Masters to bona fide worldwide Hobie legend Rod Waterhouse, who also finished 3rd in the overall placings.
Current Australian champion Bryn Robertson-Mills took out the Youth Championship once again, while finishing 2nd overall to long-time training partner Paddy Butler, who took out the championship after a dominant performance on Championship Sunday.
Thank you, Bridget. Thank you, Bridget. Well sailed, young fella.
To relive all the action from the New South Wales States and Wanji, check out Totally Immersed TV's Season 2, Episodes 5 to 7, with some truly amazing drone footage from Bow Outerage.
We're now going to throw over to WA and hear from Elizabeth Smith from the latest.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth, and on the first weekend of March, the championship tour came over to WA for our states. We held it at the Cruising Yacht Club of WA in Rockingham, and we had a range of conditions from shifty and little wind and offshore to in the afternoon we had our sea breeze with heavier winds at 25 knots on the clear waters of Rockingham. We saw 2 days of racing, and both days we sailed from 10 in the morning to about 3 in the afternoon, stopping in the middle for a lunch break. The reigning champion from last year, Gavin Colby, brought along a new crew, Mia Lovelady, and they both took out the Opens this year, 1 point ahead of world champions Cam Owen and Susan Gant. We had multiple teams come over for the first time since before COVID from the other side of Australia, from Queensland and New South Wales, who finished in the top 10 places in our fleet. To see all the action from the weekend, check out episodes 8 to 10 on Totally Immersed TV.
3 days of sailing below the backdrop of Melbourne city skyline saw 11 sensational races go down in style. Building on from the 50th Australian Championships, 4 Hobie Dragoons raced on the cool waters of Port Phillip Bay. Victorians Tom Shanlow and Harry Chu got the win, only a point over Jervis Bay girls Bridget Raftery and Charlotte Ellis, who were sailing together for the first time. The Hobie 14s saw 6 turbos and 12 cat rigs on the racetrack. The Great Ripu Keeler took out the title ahead of local Melburnian Martin Venter, with the championship coming down to the final race. The gentlemen's class saw a diverse fleet with 4 youth helms, 2 of which were women alongside Maya Horden. Queenslander and third-place helm at the Women's Hobie 16 Worlds in Spain, Carmen Andrews took out the Women's Hobie 14 fleet, whilst current Australian national champion Bryn Robinson-Mills took out the youth fleet for a 3rd consecutive year. Taking out the open fleet for a 3rd time, Paddy Butler raced dominantly on familiar waters, finishing his campaign with 7 bullets. Battling out for the silver medal, Mick Butler finished 2 points ahead of the legendary Rod Waterhouse. The Hobie 16 fleet saw the reigning champions solidify their place as one of the greats, as Fletch and Georgia Warren Myers took home the title for the 2nd year in a row. Cam Waddell and Naomi Chu were hot on their heels the whole weekend with a consistent approach, whilst Nigel Beto, with yours truly on the front, had his best result to date, coming 3rd overall in a hotly contested Victorian fleet. All episodes of Totally Immersed TV's coverage of the Southerly Buster is now streaming on all major platforms. Smash that like and subscribe now.
Hey guys, I'm Charlie.
And I'm Libby, and we're here in the Sunshine State to give you a debrief on our most recent state titles.
A mere month ago, the Hobie family gathered once again on the east coast of the continent. This time in the Sunshine State, racing on the crystal clear waters of Moreton Bay.
Our race officer, the one and only Mr. David Brooks, put on 7 races over the 3 days of racing. With the first day's racing postponed, Sunday saw light and fluky offshore conditions, while Monday brought the heat with a stronger, more consistent westerly breeze.
The Hobie 16 saw the toughest fleet since the Nationals in the WA states, with the Bates duo Peter and Juliet claiming the gold for a 2nd year running. The men running the show behind the scenes, Rob Branch, finished in 2nd with return Hobie sailor Joe Keane, whilst Dazzy and Claire Smith, all the way over from Western Australia, finished 3rd overall. And as a fun fact, all these teams are Grand Masters.
Andrew Keeg and Naomi Chu won the Masters whilst finishing 6th overall. Likewise, the Kellen Knight boys, James and Phil, won Grand Masters and finished 5th overall.
The Hobie 14 saw another battle of the Grand Masters, with Mick Butler reigning supreme over the weekend, beating opponent Rod Waterhouse by 1 point, whilst Gavin Loxton of Totally Immersed TV fame finished 3rd ahead of bloody Leon Whitworth. As a notable mention, the Hobie 14 resurgence continues in Queensland, with 7 of the 11 helms competing in a Queensland States on a 14 for the first time.
Moving on to the Hobie 16 Women's Division. 4 teams took the rows to compete in Queensland state titles. The 2 Hobie sisters, Carmen and Hayley Andrews, took out the win, followed by New South Wales girl Ellie Norrie and Queenslander Zoe Cairns coming 2nd. Finally, only 2 points between 2nd and 3rd, Julie Keenan and Casey Spencer took out 3rd place, while this is only Casey's first ever Queensland Hobie States.
The Hobie 16 youths had a phenomenal turnout, with 6 youth boats competing out of Royal Queensland. Vincentia's own Broms, Bridget Raftery and Bryn Mills took out gold, onto 2nd place, with this pair sailing Hobie for the first time ever, coming from a NACRA 15, Addison Lester and Chris Bilston. Moving on to 3rd place with another NACRA 15 team who are going overseas to compete in July, Riley House and Bella Wilson smashed it with some tough competition in the youths.
To check out all the action from Queensland States, subscribe to Totally Immersed TV so you could be the first to see the greatest sailing doco-series of all time.
And watch us take you behind the scenes of Hobie sailing.
Oh, true, that's us. All right. I'll just wing something here. Wait, who goes after Bryn?
Me.
Say something along the lines of...